I never thought I would be a cat person. And I never thought that cats would help me move on with my life. Now, when I was growing up, we always had dogs. And when I say dogs, I mean it wasn't considered a dog unless it was over 50 pounds. Now, my mom volunteered for a shelter, and she still does. And so what that meant is we had a never-ending flow of dogs in our house. Some we fostered and some we kept. And cats were always spoken of with derision because they were cold and aloof. But one day, my mom did bring home a cat that was almost big enough to be a dog, a 21-pound butterball. Now, he was a cream tabby and taught me that tabbies are special in every sense of the word. Now, my mother being an English teacher, she gave our pets literary names. And so the cat was named Elliot, for T.S. Eliot, who wrote Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, which was then turned into the musical. Eliot was food obsessed. He had the motivation and skills of a Bond villain. He would roll the kitchen chair to the pantry, climb on top, unlatch the hook and eye, roll the chair back, and open the door with his paws. My mom had to lock the food in the garage. One Halloween, my mom was saving a steak for my dad on the top of the fridge when he was coming home late from work. Elliot hauled his big old kitty carcass on the top of the refrigerator, grabbed that steak, and dragged it through the house, trailing soy marinade. Now, being a 9-year-old, I was scared of the big old cat, but disobeying my mom was far scarier, so up I went. Elliot had barricaded himself with the steak behind the toilet upstairs. Now, I don't know if it was just Halloween, but a sound came out of this cat that sounded like Cujo. My mom had to remind me that the cat had no claws. So I grabbed that steak and I brought it back downstairs, where my mom rinsed it, cooked it, and served it because my dad, being a frugal man, would have been upset had we thrown that steak away. After many years of special hilarity, Elliot was also very affectionate with me and my family, and after seeing me through elementary school, middle school, high school, and college, he passed away peacefully. When I graduated and got my own apartment, although I knew I would always love dogs, I knew I needed a cat. And my first cat as an adult was a black Burmese named Skittle, named for her lemon Skittle eyes. And she was very sweet, but she was a little bit more of the aloof personality. And she was also mourning the loss of a kitty friend, and I knew I had to get her a companion. So I went to the shelter in Annapolis, which was where I was living at the time, and all the cats were crouched in the backs of their cages, except one. One cat was rubbing his face against the side of his cage, much like a prisoner banging a tin cup. And he sounded like a 1920s gangster. He'd go, "Rawr, you're gonna take me home, see? Rawr." And he was also a polydactyl, which sounds like a dinosaur, but actually means extra toes. And he was an orange tabby, and I brought him home. And I figured out that I needed to come up with a name for this cat that I would be yelling often. And so, although he had the tiger stripes of Hobbes, he had the mischievous personality of the little boy Calvin. Now, Calvin and Skittle had a love-hate relationship. I don't know if you guys have seen when guys do like that yawn and stretch maneuver. I actually saw Calvin do this. He reached out his kitty paw and put it around Skittle, and it was like he was saying, "Hey baby, how you doing?" And from there, very special hijinks ensued. Like the time he got caught in the ceiling in my mother's basement when she was watching him. It was like the movie Alien when they know they're in the same room with the alien and they can't see it, but it was in the ceiling. We couldn't see him, but he could hear him. He'd just go, ram, ram, ram. We got him out of the vent. And then there was the time I had to pick him up after getting his teeth cleaned. You know, the kind where they knock him out? I arrived and the vet tech says to me, "Oh, you're Calvin's mom. That's not what you want." They brought me to the back and his cage was covered in yellow caution tape. The vet tech says to me, "Most cats are sweet when they come out of the anesthesia, but Calvin, he's special." I brought him home, and it was like trying to get the keys away from a drunk friend who insists he could drive. I had to hold him down and say, "Dude, sleep it off." And eventually he did. Calvin and Skittle brought their sweetness and special hilarity with me everywhere. From jobs to moves, from Annapolis, Maryland to Long Island, finally back to our forever home in Virginia. They saw me through respiratory flare-ups due to asthma, spinal issues due to a car accident, and even through several skin cancer scares. They saw me through dating, marriage, divorce, and dating again. Now, if you can believe it, Calvin in particular helped me screen guys. So when I brought one guy home, I knew he wasn't the one when he would sort of kick Calvin away. Oh no, we were not having that. But I knew who was the one when he was extraordinarily kind, not just to me, but to Calvin and Skittle. And when the one proposed, we were sitting on the couch and I was wearing my new ring, Calvin took his polydactyl paw and put it on top of our hands in approval. I actually have a picture of this. It's amazing. Skittle lived to be 14 until she passed away of diabetes. I actually gave her insulin shots twice a day for several years, and that extended her quality of life until it was her time. And I thought about getting Calvin a companion, but I knew he was special and needed all the human attention for himself, and so he did for several more years, until he was diagnosed with kidney failure, and we gave him IV fluids every day. And then one day it was his time, and my husband held Calvin in his arms so I could look Calvin in the eyes and thank him for getting me through the first 17 years of my adult life. I thought it would be a long time before I was ready to adopt again, but it was only a few months before I was on a shelter's website, and I fell in love with a picture of two cats cuddling, a petite gray female and a male, slightly cross-eyed, obviously special, orange tabby. They actually had on the side of their cage, old married couple. Everybody wanted the kittens, nobody wanted the older cats. And when I came to take them home, the staff came actually and cheered because week after week they brought people to show them these cats and they just wanted the kittens, but they were waiting for us. And although I know I will always love dogs, My house will not be a home without a special tabby in it. Thank you.